Welcome in, everybody. Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. That means it's time for the Doctor's Orders live stream on the Dr. Nick's YouTube channel. You guys, we are on episode 59 this week. I do want to hit it off right away on the beginning here. I highly encourage you guys to set your reminders, your alarms, whatever the case may be, for next week. You able to hear me there, Nick?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. YouTube was saying there was some things going on. So just want to make sure. But
no,
this
loud and clear.
Perfect. This show, same place, same time next week. We are going to be having, it's not an interview, but having a conversation with a friend of ours, a community member. And this is someone that you really want to get to know their life. They are unbelievably interesting. I've had the pleasure of being able to meet them. This is a career military man. Many branches of the special forces. He is also a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. He is also a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym owner and is just a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience. Be here next week, you guys. I think it's going to be one of the most fascinating conversations you can possibly have. So it's really fun. I know it's straight up going to be a banger, but this show is the Doctor's Orders. The goal of this is to get to know this company, to get to know the people behind the company, and to continue to build this community surrounding this company. And it really has been an honor and a pleasure to be able to do this with you guys. And I'm the co-host. My name is Dancy Bearden. And over here is co-host, founder, co-owner, multi-business mogul, entrepreneur, Beard Nationals competitor, tattooed, do it all, doctor of time and space himself, Mr. Master Phelps, aka Dr. Nick.
Man, dude, we need to get you like a throwaway mic that you can just kind of pick up and drop sometimes.
I just want to follow you and Jill around. And when you guys go into like restaurants and they're like, do you guys have reservations? I just like part between you guys. And I'm like, the co-founder, the master, the doctor of time and space. And they're like, do you have reservations? Yes, it's under Nick Phelps, please.
We're like, getting there. Don't mess up my lead in.
Too funny.
You step between us and all of a sudden a mic just drops down from the ceiling inside any restaurant you're in.
Lights dim and spotlight. That would be so fun. And Jacked Up Leatherworks, what's up, my man? There's something going on today with internet and stuff. I think regionally and stuff, but I think we're doing okay. So hopefully you guys are all doing well on your internet side and your life side. Speaking of the life side, Nick, how are you doing?
Doing better than the internet is apparently today. You know, it's a miracle it even works at all. You know, you get into the underbelly of that thing, you know, it shouldn't work. You know, there's too many chances for things to go wrong, and sometimes they do. Like today, I got a bunch of, you know, you look at Down Detector today, it's like all over the place. Things are flashing red. So
that thing gives me nightmares.
We'll hold it down here.
Yeah, nightmares. Stuff will start going wrong. Then I'll check it, and it's like, Monday, 8:55 p.m. Boom, like skyrockets. Like at my show, I'm like, of course. Thank you.
You're like, yep. There you go. That sounds about right. Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna get it. It's gonna be Monday night, 7:52.
Yep.
8:52. Yeah.
Shout out to Al Gore. Thank you for your internet services for us.
Yeah. Good job, Al.
And
Thanks.
Today, guys, I am genuinely excited to sit back and learn. This is one of my favorite kind of topics ever since I was a kid. And what we're going to talk about today is folklore, and specifically Hawaiian folklore, because one, Nick lived there for quite a long time, is going to be able to share personal experiences and hearing from the people and seeing things. But number two, Hawaiian folklore has its own unique folklore. Right? We have places all around the world that have Bigfoot and Yeti and all these kind of like mythical creatures. Hawaii has stuff that's just in Hawaii, very, very specific to Hawaii, and lots of them. And for me, as like an outsider and somebody that hasn't been there, but somebody who's watched a lot of stuff, listened to a lot of stuff, heard a lot of people, it just feels different. It just feels authentic. Like there's something to it. And I hope you guys are excited to learn and listen and be entertained today, because it's going to be a lot of fun. But first, I think we should keep reminding and kind of talking about this. November 4th, the U.S. National Beard Competition, Daytona, Florida. Nick is entering. I am judging, and we are going to be there. If you guys want to come, you're going to be able to meet us. You're going to be able to hang out. Who knows? Maybe we'll get lunch. November 4th, Daytona, Florida. You're going to have a massive building full of so many like-minded individuals that when you get passionate about beards and beard products and beard styles and beard tools, they're not going to look at you like you're crazy. Their eyes are going to light up. They're going to add to the conversation. And Nick, now that we've had about a week to process this, because it happened quickly,
it did.
Thoughts, feelings, where are you at with all this?
Oh man, I'm pumped. I mean, to be a part of the biggest beard boondoggle this here side of the Mississippi has me pretty excited. Like, I'm just going to throw it out there.
I am pumped.
I'm pumped. I mean, first of all, I've never done it before. I've never done a beard competition before.
Yeah.
I've never even, not that I haven't even entered one. I've never been to one. I've never been to a beard competition. I've obviously seen all the photos and all that. So we figured, hey, if we're going to do one, start off right at the top, right? Just start right at nationals and just kind of go from there.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. Just put it on the table.
Go big or go home.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And
I'm pumped though, man. I'm pretty excited. It was funny. Like, I got like a little nervous last week. Like once we finally got everything booked and it was like for real happening. And, then I started thinking about it and I was like, oh, it's one of those weird things where like, I'm always nervous about stuff, I guess, because of my prep, right? Like I always want to be prepared for things. Like I always want to make sure if I'm going to go do something that I'm as well set up and situated as humanly possible to do it. But the funny thing, I guess, about it is like there's not much to do to get ready for this, right? It's like my beard is kind of the same beard every day. Nothing I'm going to do between now and the 4th of next month to sway any results, right? So it's one of those weird things where I'm like, all right, well, I actually just entered, and you just go and you groom yourself up nice that day and hope you get good marks, and that's about it.
Absolutely. And Jacked Up says Aaron D. Johnston will be there. Yeah, Aaron's a good friend of mine. It's actually Aaron and MJ who are the two that put it together to offer me the spot to be a judge and invite me to be a judge. So yeah, I know Aaron well. I'll be judging with his wife, Natalie. So we will be on that judging panel together. And BK says, it's new to me too, and crazy that it's in my state for the first time right at the end of my year. What are the chances? It's meant to be.
Dude, I mean, clearly meant to be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Brennan, so he moved to Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Awesome. Yeah, you are about an hour and a half from me. You're probably my parents live up north a little more. So you're about halfway between me and my parents, maybe a little bit closer to them. So yeah, you're not that far at all, man. I enjoy Mount Pleasant. It's known for a casino. I don't like gambling, or let me rephrase. I don't like gambling with my own money, but I do enjoy going there. If anybody's, I had someone once that was like, "Hey, I am not good at gambling, but I like gambling. Can I sponsor you? You go gamble. You keep half the winnings with none of the money put in." Yep,
that's not bad.
Yeah, I was definitely excited and jacked up. This is what I've been telling Nick for literally a year now. We've been talking about competitions for a long time. We pulled up the calendar. We looked regionally. We looked at the Bearded Villains. We looked at all this stuff. And I've been telling him that whole time that you should do really, really well. And he says that you should place pretty high. And with this one in particular, I'm very excited for you because of the category. Now,
that's what has me confident too.
Yeah. Explain to people what category you are in and why you and I both feel that you fit it very well.
So there's a wide range of categories, right? So there's mustache, there's goatee, there's full beard, there's full beard groomed, there's full beard styled mustache, then there's full styled beard. And then inside of those categories, so I'm going to go for the full beard groomed, and which means you can use heat, right? You can use basic grooming products, conditioning products. You can't have it, styled anything crazy, anything like that.
No glue.
No glue, right? But you can still groom. So that's kind of where I'm going. And then inside of those categories, they break it up by length. So there's like a stubble to, I think it's like stubble to 6 to 12, 12 to 18, 18 to 24, 24 plus. And so I get to be in the 18 to 24 category, which is perfect for me because I'm right at like, depending on how much heat I use that day, I'm like right at 22, 23 inches.
Yep.
So I'm right under the cutoff before I'd be in 24 plus, which that 24 plus category is where you got the guys with knee length beards.
And just
So
freak genetics, like
maybe in a couple
length.
years, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And we got like the thing that kills me with those guys is it's so wide. They have so much volume.
They got huge beards.
It's crazy. Now, oftentimes we only see pictures of that, and I can get my beard real wide for a picture, but then the second I move, it comes back to reality because these muscles be pushing it to you. Nick's beard's all slight because it's the muscles, but
that's what it
is. There are some that are just ridiculous, and I'm very, very excited to go and just talk to people, meet new people, talk about Dr. Nick's literally, and because the last, I don't know, at least 3 competitions I've judged, not with Nick, not related to Nick at all, I had in Dr. Nick's IPA beard oil. And people would ask me, like Jason, who I think he's in the chat, usually is, Jason in the chat, or anybody else that was at the last couple competitions, they're like, hey, what do you got in beard? And I'm like, oh, shoot, I have Dr. Nick's IPA oil. And I'm like, why? Because I know my beard's going to look good when I use that oil. And so that's always cool to talk about. Now, here's my question for you. Obviously, you're going with Dr. Nick's. What scent do you go to, whether it gives you some kind of like mental boost, or is there a scent like I do? I believe for whatever reason, it's small, but I get a little extra boost from IPA somehow, some way. What scent are you going to go with and why?
I'm torn between number 7 and IPA.
Okay.
And number 7, the reason I will probably go with that is for some reason it's just my comfort zone. Like if I'm not thinking about what I'm wearing that day, it's number 7. It's like it's almost completely transparent to me at this point. Like I don't notice anything's different. I don't notice anything's there. I don't have to think about it. And I know I'm going to look fantastic. So, and it's just, I don't know if it's a brain thing where I'm just used to it because I use it so damn much.
Right.
But I think that's probably what I'm going to go with. I'm probably going to go up there with number 7 in.
Yeah, be confident, be secure. You know the outcome. And G Squared said, Dan, are those wide beards healthy though? So I have, like I said, I've judged double-digit beard competitions. I've done big ones. I've done little ones. I've judged like world champions several times. And it's a mixed bag. When you get to these competitions, this is what, to be real honest here, this is what I'm very excited about. You have the beard competition community who's very close-knit. They're very, very tight. And then you have kind of my community, right? The Dancy Bearded, the online YouTube community. Now, there are some overlapping forces that watch my videos and that are deeply involved with the beard competitions. However, most of the time in that Venn diagram, there's not a ton of crossover. I want to be the person that creates that crossover. I want to get you guys watching right now involved in beard competitions, just like because we see that right there, just like Nick. I want to get you guys in that world, but I also want to get the people that are in that world over to this side to see videos, to feel the camaraderie, the support, and maybe learn something, because G Squared's question is on point, and it's a lot of these guys are just naturally freaks of nature when it comes to genetics of beards, that they can literally use gotta be glue every weekend and their beard's going to survive and be fine to a degree. Now, I had like a light bulb moment in one of these competitions. I was talking to a guy and I was like, oh man, he's like, yeah, I use a glue stick on my mustache and I use gotta be glue on the rest of my beard. I'm like, oh, that's brutal on your beard, man. I'm like, how do you get away with it when you do so many competitions? He said, oh, pretty much every weekend I clip off my split ends. If you are having split ends, if you clip your split ends and then the next weekend you have split ends, you are doing some serious damage to your beard.
That means your beard is pissed.
Yeah, serious damage to your beard. Now, their beard is growing so fast, so abundantly, just from nature, just from they got the genetic lottery, right? We all know people that are just ripped from birth. They never lifted a weight in their life, and they're just absolutely jacked. They didn't choose that. That chose them, and the same thing happens with the beards. So the trouble is, oftentimes those guys become U.S. champions, world champions, stuff like that, and so they get kind of on this mental pedestal and they don't want to hear any of this information. And my pitch is, hey, you can have all that. You can be the world champion, all this stuff, but I can actually help you, right? If you didn't have to split off or cut off your split ends every weekend, how much better would it be? If your beard was nourished from the inside, how much more full would it be? So definitely there are some, right? Jacked Up Leather where it says, I'm both. Yeah, he watches the channel, he watches this channel, and there's a lot, but there are many where it's just brutal. Yeah, just brutal. And this is the comment that I want to get out there to people right here. My length went from 8 to 12 from Dan's advice. Right there.
It's a big jump.
Right. You know what I mean? And a lot of people hit that plateau at 8. A lot of people don't ever get past that because of transparency, because of slow growth, because of life. At about 8 inches, you start to get your beard involved with life. You know what I mean? Like it's now interacting with your seatbelt. It's now like noticeable when you sleep. It's now noticeable when you put a shirt on. You got to do the bloop. You got to ploof it out of the shirt.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I want. I want to merge those worlds. And I think we have the ability to do that. I think I have the outgoing personality to go talk to people. I think we have the results, right? I walk around with Nick like, look at that beard, guys. This is using quality beard products. Come on now. And
that's it.
I think we have a really cool opportunity and really to get these guys using good quality products and learning about stuff. I think it's going to be fun. And so November 4th, Daytona, Florida, we're both going to be here.
And to answer your other question from G Squared, we don't know. We're not sure. Dan is a judge on full beard category, and we don't know if that includes groomed, styled, just full beard. We're not really sure yet.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not sure.
Good chance, though.
Yeah, and there definitely could be, and Nick and I talked about that because I'm like, I don't want any conflict or bias, but there's oftentimes judges who are in beard clubs and judging people that are within their own beard club, or if they're, like I said, Jacked Up Leatherwork mentioned Mad Viking, they have a huge competition crew, and oftentimes they have their own guys on the judging. As long as you're honest, as long as you're open, and there's 7 judges and they average the scores, so one judge usually doesn't make a huge difference. You figure out by doing these competitions, in the end, it pretty much works out when you get that many people judging.
Yeah, it's an aggregate score. You know, it's not like you're going based on individual points that get averaged out across each judge. That'd be a lot to score too. That'd be a complicated scoring system.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Really fun. So just wanted to lead with that, you guys, November 4th. Beyond that, make sure you guys check out the Dr. Nick's Instagram page. A lot of cool stuff going on there. Hey, man, we're getting into beard season, a couple weeks away from November, and then December, bunch of drops and releases coming. I will say I have gotten my hands and my beard on a couple of those, and just wait, you guys. Just wait.
Some good ones.
Yeah, it is.
I have our new soon to be released lemongrass ginger basil Thai lemongrass ginger. We're still kicking around the name while we're getting the labels finalized here, but I have it in now. I've been using it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yesterday. I've been using it for 5 days now. Loving it. Great stuff.
That is awesome. And will the Nationals be streamed? I don't know. I know they have before. I'm not sure. If they do, it's probably going to be done through Honest Amish. So keep an eye out on their socials and we'll see. And Dr. Nick Jr. goes Circus of Whiskers. So have I told you about Circus of Whiskers?
Yeah, you have. Yeah. This came up once before too, and then I looked it up after it did. That looks wild.
It is wild. That was
awesome.
That was my first beard competition experience back in 2018.
Oh, wow.
And Jacked Up Leatherworks mentioned a group that he's involved with. I actually I was introduced to somebody. They told me they were the owner of this company and group, and they were an absolute jerk to me. Absolute jerk to me. Dismissive, arrogant, cocky in all the worst ways, terrible vibes. Come to find out later, it was somebody within that group that was posing and fronting as an owner, and they really weren't. And,
wow.
Yeah. And so I held this impression of this company and this group for years. And it's not even like he introduced himself. It's that somebody introduced me to him and said, this is one of the owners. And I'm like, oh, wow, nice to meet you. I just started a YouTube channel. This was within months of starting my YouTube channel. And they were so rude to me, but turns out they weren't actually the owner.
Well, look at that. You had a bad impression of the person, but not of the group.
Yes, absolutely. And then since I've met the owners and had great experiences, so no, nothing but good, nothing but love there. All right, guys, today I want to jump into it, and then if we have time at the end, we can hit questions, we can talk about other topics, but I really want to go in on this because, like I said, I love folklore. I love
Me
mythical
too.
creatures. I love the concept of creatures that are out there that we don't know about or we thought were gone, but are still out there. You know, like there's this huge picture going around of this snake in the Congo, and they believe it's the largest snake ever recorded. And it was somebody in the military was on a helicopter, got down low enough to take a picture of it, came back a couple of times to take a picture. Well, you know how there's like just straight up like obsessive people online that just go in and all they do is figure stuff out.
Oh yeah.
They found the exact location of that picture, and they went in and they mapped it out and they sized out what this snake was going to be. Over 50 feet long, the snake. Now, we don't have any actual records of anything over like 30 feet, even with anacondas, even with pythons. That's about our limit of like possibility. This one was taken a picture by a military member, and they really believe it's real. And I'm like, oh
Wow.
my gosh.
That's crazy. Like that cryptozoology stuff is
Yes.
crazy, isn't it? Like that whole world is nuts. Like a lot of it is pretty far out there. I mean, you got you got some people in those circles.
Oh, and that's the problem with it, though. You know,
It's so hard to decipher. Yeah.
It muddies the water, and then you have variations of animals. Like a lot of people would say, like you'll have this animal, and they're like, "Oh, it's just a coyote with mange." You know, it's just this or that, and so
Right.
it's really really tough to figure out. And but I loved River Monsters with Jeremy Wade. I loved like Catching a Monster. It was the series where they go and they would go after like the New Jersey Devil, and they would do like all these different ones, and it's so cool. Look at Bren says,
We have a certified cryptozoologist right here.
100-hour course and got a certificate. He said, I like to pretend it's legit, kind of like a doctor at time. And I have certified framed in my house. Dude, that's super cool.
I'd say yours is way more legit because it required 100 hours of training. Mine was kind of a checkbox.
And then, yeah, I just saw this yesterday. Have you seen the new Bigfoot footage on the side of this like mountain hill?
No, I didn't. I didn't see that yet. And I'll probably say a reason I didn't see it is because I got down the other rabbit hole yesterday of that guy who filmed what he thought was a dire wolf.
I haven't seen that one.
Dear God, this thing looks like walking on the ground. It looks like its back is like 5 feet up. Another wolf is like chasing and playing with it, and this thing like lumbers around the woods chasing this other dog, and it's like, whoa.
Oh man.
Holy crap, look at that thing.
Yeah, so this is that snake in the Congo. It was taken a picture by a helicopter, and then again they went in and they mapped it out to see how long it would be, and they did all these like little lines and stuff, and it's over 50 feet.
Dude, that is crazy, isn't it? Like, imagine running into that damn thing.
Right.
Like, that's why you just don't go to the Congo. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the reasons you'll not find me there.
Yeah, there's people that have gone deep and for long into the Amazon, and they're like, and they've personally said, "Oh, there's 60 footers out there. Like, there's no way that there's not." And we just haven't been able to like really get like good solid information on it.
That's insane.
Yep. And then this, let me see if I can find a good one here. But the footage of the Bigfoot on the side of the mountain or like the side of the hill is pretty interesting. Like it's actually, this isn't doing the best job. It's actually super clear to the point where it's, because that's the thing with all this, right? With aliens and Bigfoot and all this stuff. Why has nobody had like an iPhone picture? why has nobody had an iPhone
use the Nokia flip phones to take these things?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And a lot of people are saying that it looks like a prankster in a costume. So yeah, we will see. Oh, that's funny. Brennan said, to be fair, the 100-hour course took me 12 hours.
Yeah, there you go. Next,
Yeah.
click, next. Okay.
That's great. So I love this stuff, man. I always have, always will. There's got to be something biological in us where it's kind of like a common threat. Like if we talk about these things, or if somebody's like, hey, we heard about this, like everyone's interest is peaked, and we've seen stuff, right? We've seen like, whereas that, like, do you guys know the monkey that was in Africa that was like superhuman looking, and it's got like these like human eyes, and there was myths forever that it existed, and then they found just like a massive population in was it the Congo, in the middle of the Congo?
Yeah, there was like a bunch of them.
Yeah, a lot of them, and it's like, oh, It's real. Look right there. And so, yeah, Donald says, why are you sharing pictures of me waking up in the morning? I am. Oh, on that note, the last beard competition I judged, it was called the Sasquatch Uncut. We had a category that was for body hair. Yeah. I judged a full body hair competition. And there were no women that entered. This was all males. My buddy Jason did really well in it, but yeah, that was definitely something unique. All right, you still with me? Oh, there he is.
I am. I was actually just looking at this thing about this Bigfoot. This is killing me. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the new
I
one.
don't know. See, I don't. There's still not. There's no great photo.
Never, and that's the problem with it, right? Why is there
Really not.
never a photo?
No, there's not, and I don't get it. I just don't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm.
Oh, wait, Jacked Up says, wait, you were at Sasquatch this year? I was the judge, man. Yeah, it was me, Jim Jones. Who? Jim Jones. It was me, Jim Jones, and then, oh, man, what was the other dude's name? But were you there? Yeah, I was a judge for Mark this year over in, Imlay City? So, yeah, the evidence is always sketchy. So,
Dude,
all of that, yeah, all of that to say, I love this stuff. And Hawaii is very unique. Very unique.
dense with that stuff. Like,
right, for such a small area.
Yeah, there's like, it's just because of the history and it's because there's just, I mean, heck, there's just so much history there and it's so old. You know what I mean? Like the land is just so much older than most land that's on, planet Earth. And on top of that, there's things that are in the water around Hawaii that are also part of kind of like the mythical side of Hawaii. Like there's like the whole story about like Lemuria and like the crystal planet and stuff like that, where those things were sucked into Earth's orbit and came down and fell to Earth, and they say that like Lemuria and the crystal planet were in the water, underwater off the north side of Kauai. And they say that's like one of the weird things that happens there is that gives it all this supercharged energy that traps things there is part of that. And they think like a lot of people believe that like the beings that inhabited those planets, had something to do with the people who originally inhabited Hawaii. So, I mean, there's like this whole huge history about ancient aliens in Hawaii and all of that stuff. And then there's like the spiritual side of the folklore.
The land, even like a lot of these things are creatures. Hawaii is largely based on the land. And is it Pele or what's the
volcano god? Yeah, Pele.
Yeah, that's a massive part of it. And
it's huge. I mean, and the Pele stories, I mean, we could do a whole stream just talking about like the things I've heard and read over the years about Pele. I mean, just some crazy stuff, man. Like really, really crazy ones. Like there's been people who have supposedly been, there's murder, there's death cases in Hawaii that have been closed because there wasn't any physical evidence. And like literally back in the day, authorities even blamed the murder on Pele.
Wow.
Like it's that far rooted where there's actual like documented police cases where that was the outcome of the investigation.
My goodness. Now, to rewind a bit, most people in here know that you lived in like a crazy amount of states and traveled with your family for growing up. Mm-hmm. But other than Massachusetts, was Hawaii your longest stay?
Yeah, it's probably Hawaii, then probably Massachusetts, then Hawaii, then Florida are the places that I've lived the longest.
So when did you live in Hawaii? And then how did this like folk get introduced to you? How did it start? And just kind of share about like the concept of like being somebody that didn't live there, you transplant there, and then you start to hear about this stuff. And like, did you get it? Did you feel it? Like, take me to the beginning. I want to hear it all.
Yeah. So our first stay in Hawaii, our first stint there, started off when I was just at the end of elementary school, I guess. And it was to Maui, and we lived on the kind of like southwest of Lahaina. And so we lived right on Freight Trains Beach. For anyone that knows, like the surf spots on Maui is big windsurfing spot, and not as big as like Kahului on the other side of the island, but still pretty prominent. And So, the road that we lived on was the road that went to Hana, and well, actually, the road that went to Makawao. Sorry. And so there's this road that kind of wraps up around the side of the crater, and the beach that we lived on was basically right there. We lived in a condo complex there. So honestly, the first instance I even heard about it, because like you'll hear about it, you'll hear kids talking about it, but it's not like a big topic that comes up much amongst kids like in elementary and middle school. It does come from your teachers quite a bit, right? You learn about it. You learn these stories, and they pass them down, and they talk about Pele, and they talk about the night marchers, and they talk about Menehune, and shape shifting lizards and all the other stuff that you kind of hear about. But
I have I got a couple of I got two that I want you to talk about today. So you're just like, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
That one.
Yes.
And so honestly, what we'd get a lot, because we'd be hanging out, me and friends, after surfing or on the way to go hang out somewhere at the beach. Tourists would stop and they'd ask for directions. And our favorite thing to do back when we were, punk kids, was give tourists bad directions, and then see how long it would take for them to come back and ask the right way. And you'd be like, oh, no. You went that way? No. What you got to do is go that way. And so we would just kill time by giving bad directions to people. So if you go to Hawaii, don't ask for directions from kids. They're just going to lead you somewhere wrong, or they're going to ask for a ride, then they're going to make you stop at a store, and then they're going to make you go back, and it's the whole thing. But so we would start hearing these stories though from tourists. And so, what was interesting is like they'd come back from somewhere, they'd be at the beach, and you talk to them about what they did. And that's like a super big thing to do when you go to Maui or Kauai or Oahu or any of the islands that have lots of these stories, is you kind of go on like these ghost tours, and just like any old city on the mainland here. It's like what they do down here in Plymouth, like the Plymouth ghost tours, right? They do a lot of that stuff out there. And so you hear a lot of this stuff from tourists. And the most prominent one is the story of Pele. And there are certain rules in Hawaii about what you shouldn't do to not anger Pele, who's the most vengeful, allegedly, of all the Hawaiian spirits and deities. If you take home the wrong souvenirs, it can land you in big trouble with Pele. For example, there's this one legend that says that if you take any lava rock home from Hawaii on your plane, that Pele will burn your house down. Ooh. And so people always get warned, like, don't take home any lava rock. Don't take any lava rock from the beach. Don't take it from any state parks. Because there's a good chance that your house will mysteriously burn down shortly after arriving back home with that lava rock. And there's been reports all over the world about this happening to people.
Wow.
About people taking home something they shouldn't have taken home, and then next thing you know, everything they own is in ashes. I don't have any firsthand experience, obviously, hearing about any of that from anybody, but that's just the first of many things about Pele. I think the weirdest one about Pele is the fact that there's a lot of stories, and I have had some firsthand accounts from people about this, about either someone being rescued out of a bad situation by someone who then vanishes and was never there, or being judged and either then being left alone because you were judged positively, or you didn't do the right thing and then you end up dead. And then again, no physical evidence, person that's involved vanishes, usually in the form of a hitchhiker. But there's been a lot of stories, and this is one of the ones that I had firsthand. There's a friend of mine who used to live on the Big Island, Hawaii, and this is when I lived at this point on Kauai. And he said that it was actually a really sad story. He lived with us for a while, and then he ended up living on the Big Island. And while he was living on the Big Island, his son that was living on Maui years later, he got in a car accident on his way around the cliffs. There's a really dangerous road there on the way to Lahaina, where it's a seaside highway, big cliffs, really windy, and it's super dangerous, not because of the road, but during whale season. Tourists will dead stop in the middle of that road, get out of their cars and take pictures of whales. And if you're going around a corner at 60 miles an hour, you'll just run right into them. And it happens like weekly on that road during whale season. And unfortunately, our family friend, his son, was the unfortunate one that went right into the back of a stopped tourist car on the side of the highway. And he hit him hard enough where his car went off the cliff, and he didn't make it. And so our friend Steven, he was driving, still very torn up and depressed about losing his son, obviously. And he saw a hitchhiker on the side of the road and picked her up. And she got him talking about his son and started talking to him about how, like, guiding him kind of about how, like, his son's in a better place and this and that. And he said that it was a long drive. They had about an hour to get around where they were going to Kailua. And so he's sitting there talking, and he literally said that he looked in the mirror and looked at this woman in his back seat, older woman, local looking older woman, and said, like, wow, thank you so much. Like, I don't know what the hell this was. He's like, I guess I just hadn't really talked about it the way I feel to anybody. Like, I hadn't really talked about it. Like, I was thinking I might not make it off this island again. Like, hell, I was thinking I might not make it through this drive. And he's like, so anyway, thanks a bunch. And he looks in his mirror and there's no one there.
Oh.
And so Pele's been known to come to people in times of need like that and walk them through situations or help them come to, like, some realization. But this is a guy that, like, I knew for 15 years before I heard this story, and there'd be no reason for him to make it up. But he said, he said it was the craziest thing that ever happened. He stopped the car, got out, opened the back doors, literally looked. He's like, I don't know why. He's like, but I opened my trunk, and he's like, I just looked. He's like, I looked everywhere. He's like, there was no one there. He's like, I don't think anyone was ever there.
That's freaky.
And then if you read about that, the picking up a hitchhiker who then disappears after something happening in your car, that's a repeating storyline that happens a lot in Hawaii. And the locals attribute that to, basically you're being, you're interacting with Pele.
Wow. Yeah, there really is. And like you said, there's stuff on all this. Like, I looked up real quick as you're telling that story, the Pele and the lava rocks, and it said a person took some, house burned down, and other things, sudden and devastating illness strike loved ones. And it's like, you need to return these lava rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you Google any of these things I talk about today. I mean, there's like an overabundance of information on all of them, I'm sure.
Man. And if you guys missed it, was it last week or 2 weeks ago that we talked about your story, which was the owl story. That one is so worth it to go listen to. It was good. And was that your only, like, real big personal experience with something like this, or have you had any other ones?
No, we've had a few. So my mom was watching that stream, and what's really funny, I don't know if she's in here today or not. Just say hi if you're watching, Mom.
Like it.
She was watching the last one, and she texted me afterwards, and she's like, man, it still reminds me of that time that we had to get the house on Kauai on the cliffs blessed by that Hawaiian priest. And I was thinking back, I'm like, holy crap, I actually almost completely forgot about that. And and then she reminded me of another story. And actually I remembered this one really well because this was actually my first real personal encounter. This was before the owl. And it was, I believe, what I must have saw or experienced was something related to night marchers. And so I'll tell the story about night marchers and what they are, and then I'll tell you what happened with me. So night marchers are another Hawaiian legend where Hawaiian royalty always lived, securely upriver and, in the hills or in the mountains, right? And that way they had a good defense against, other people, and it was single paths to get in and out of their camps. And it was that way by design. And so whenever the Hawaiian royalty needed to come down to the beach and they needed to go down to bathe, or they had to go, cook, or they were doing luau or something like that, they had their warriors with them, right? They had their army. And so what would happen is in ancient Hawaiian times, if you're like King Kamehameha or someone in that sect of royalty, if you were going from your camp downriver to the beach, your foot soldiers would march in front of you, and they carried torches and they beat a drum. And the rule back then was that if you were on the path, if you were near the path and you heard drums, the rule was to get off the path because they'll kill you. right? They don't know if you're a threat to the king or the queen or any other royalty they're with. And so they think that if you heard the drums and you decided to stay on the path, then you were probably adversarial and there was no questions asked. They killed you right there on the spot, and they made the path safe for royalty to pass by.
Okay.
Now, the weird thing now, fast forward thousands of years, is that these paths that they cut through the, through the lush jungle to get down to the beaches are still bare. So no vegetation grows on night marcher paths is the legend, and it's dead on. I mean, there are paths cut through areas of Kauai where nothing grows. And now this is such a superstitious people, right? And it's so deeply rooted in their culture that town zoning boards today, this is 2023, will not issue a building permit if there is a night marcher path through a piece of land in Hawaii.
Wow.
Like, you're talking about multi-million-dollar lots of lands between like cliffside home here, 4 stories, cliffside home here, 3 stories, $3 million for this one, $5 million for this one, empty lot. And it's because there's a night marcher path through it. And it's a path that they took to get down there. And if you build there, bad things will happen to you, right? And still to this day, if you're somewhere where it's quiet, you're out in the wilderness, there are people, I've never seen this part, I've never seen this myself, but people I know who have, you can still hear the drums sometimes. And once in a while, you can still see a faint light floating through the trees. And it'll happen at night, and you'll hear the beating of a drum, and you can see a light sometimes. And if you are in the path where the night marchers are, when you either see a light or hear the drums, people have been known to have sudden cardiac events in those situations and just die on the spot. And so there's still, like, there was a guy, and when I was looking this up, I was trying to send my friend a link to this back in like 2015, like about 10 years ago, almost 8 years ago. And I was looking up, just like you're doing now, trying to find good sites for him for night marcher stories. And there was a recent one from like 2014 or 15 where there was a guy on the back edge of their property. They have a night marcher path, and he was out there clearing something out with one of his dogs that night. And his dog started barking. The dogs both ran away, and he stayed there to hear what happened. And at 45 years old, guy fell dead from a heart attack. No previous conditions at all.
That's crazy.
Oop.
Oh,
lost your audio.
Oh, are we here? No?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't hear Dan. I don't know if it's anybody else can't hear Dan.
Any luck?
Did something switch on my side?
Mic check. Let me know, guys, if you can hear me. All right.
Hold music. Let's see here. I don't... okay, well, you can hear everybody. That's good. Everyone hears both of us, and I just can't hear you. So I'll figure this out here in a second. Let me just maybe try to switch this here real quick. I think we had a power outage, I was telling Dan this weekend.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, they get these
settings here, just decided to use a different audio all of a sudden. Let's see.
So true.
Night marchers took my mic, took my speakers. That's what it was. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to just temporarily switch it to another speaker here real quick, and we'll see if that works.
Mic check.
I got my backup here, I think.
Mic check. Join the chat, Dan. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I know. I'm typing a private message to him. Just roll if it. Oop. Check.
Oh, there we go. I can just put you in the built-in speaker over here, and I'm good.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
Keep going. Don't let me stop you.
Okay. So, audio issues aside, just let me know if something happens with my mic. So now, fast forward through all of this stuff, right? So, like, I've heard the night marcher story a bunch in Hawaii growing up. And this is what actually led us to get this house we were in, blessed by a Hawaiian priest. I was probably 12, 13 or so when this happened. So the house we lived at for a while in Kauai was right on Kalapaki Bay. And yeah, there you go. Mom is here. And those marchers were scary. Here she is. So we lived right on the cliff. And if you look up Kalapaki Bay, it's gorgeous. It's where all the cruise ships come in on Kauai. My dad worked at the hotel there, the Marriott in Kalapaki, and we lived right on the cliff overlooking Kalapaki Bay. So it was a really cool house. It was stacked down on stilts. It was really neat. And 3 houses over, 3 lots over, they still haven't built there. There's a night marcher path. And it was an empty lot when we lived there. It had always been an empty lot, obviously. And we had a really big German Shepherd at the time. His name was Koa, and named after the strongest of the Hawaiian woods. He's a big, strong dog. And so he came from a rescue there on Kauai. He was a great dog, but he was huge, like 140-ish pounds, German Shepherd, black face, just, looked like a police dog kind of, canine unit kind of dog. And he wasn't scared of anything. Like, this dog was just tougher than nails. And he was a great guard dog. He really was defensive of us, protective. And so I was out walking him one day, and we're walking along, kind of walking back from like some grassy wooded area across the street to get back to the house. And I'm walking, he's behind me, he's on a leash. And all of a sudden I'm just looking out, it's kind of like right after it got dark. And so I'm walking, and all of a sudden the leash stops, and I'm like, kind of like tugged and looked, and he was like frozen. He wouldn't move. And like I say, this dog was just tough. I never saw him run away from anything. And he wasn't making a sound. He was just frozen still, looking down the street, like he was locked eyes on something. And then I'm like looking at him. I said, Koa, what are you doing? I was like, let's go. Come. And as soon as I start tugging on the leash, he starts growling. And then I see that he's not just staring, he's doing this. He's moving his head, and his eyes are watching something that's clearly moving across the street from one side to the other. And I'm looking where he's looking, and I can't see anything. Like, nothing's there. And he's literally like dead on watching something. And now his fur's standing up on his back, and he's growling. And so I'm trying to figure out what the hell he's looking at. So I'm still looking. And then I hear a sound right next to me, and I look down to the ground, and he's peeing. So this big ass German Shepherd is now all the way frozen, growling, staring, watching something walk across the road, and he just pees himself, and he doesn't move his feet. That's what really got me, is that like the puddle that he was forming on the ground was like enveloping both of his feet, and he didn't even, he still wasn't moving. Uncontrollable, right? And then all of a sudden he sees it, and I see his eyes go right where the tree line is. And that's right where the damn lot is. That's an empty lot right there. And as soon as his eyes go where the tree line is, he like snaps out of it and looks at me, shakes his paws off, and starts walking back towards the house.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like, it was the craziest thing ever. So I came inside, and I told my mom, and I told her what happened. And she's like, combining that with all the other weird stuff we had happen in that house. It was a weird place. Like, you felt something strange in that house. And I think it was just because of proximity to that damn night marcher path.
Now, you had it blessed? Did you guys feel like that helped? Did stuff slow down, or?
So what was really weird is there was 2 things that actually happened there. We got it blessed, and while the priest was there, this was really weird too. And my mom might remember more of these details than I do. This part's a little fuzzy for me, but yes, things did get better, but it was attributed to 2 things. We had to bury like, I think it was our cat, like one of our cats that we had died. And she was out front. We had this little stone that had a cat painted on it, like right out front in the dirt where the cat was buried, kind of like a little headstone.
Yeah.
And the priest that was there said that something was off. Like, he was walking around the whole time saying, something's off here. And eventually he's walking around out front, and he's like, what's that? And points down at the rock where we had the headstone. He's like, you got to move that. He's like, I don't know why. He's like, but that's gotta go. He's like, that's not going to be okay to stay there. So we had to like relocate that rock somewhere else. And he's like, all right, things are feeling a little better. And things did improve at that house. And I don't know if it was mental that we thought someone was there and we just felt more comfortable, but we never experienced anything weird at that place, like in that house, ever again after that.
Wow. That's
that dog definitely saw a night marcher.
And it just, man, for whatever reason, it just feels authentic with these Hawaiian stories. And I've always felt that way. Like there's something different with the lava and the way it's formed and just something different. Now,
Yeah, like I'm surprised, looking back on it, like I'm sure I could have pissed off Pele at one point because I didn't get any spiritual interaction from it, but I definitely got my very first ticket in a federal national park because we got caught hitting golf balls from a parking lot into the lava flow.
oh,
It was really cool. You do it at night, and when you hit your golf ball, it shoots over the lava field and it'll skip on a rock. And as soon as it hits once and rolls, it just turns into like this unraveling ball of fire.
wow.
And then just melts into the lava when it hits the next time. So it's really cool. And you're not littering because it just vaporizes.
Right.
But we did. I got my very first ticket from a federal marshal that gave me littering in a federally protected national park.
You're like, well, technically,
find the evidence,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Too funny. All right. Now, I have two that I want to run by you. One I mentioned before, then the other I haven't. These two have always fascinated me, especially as a like history teacher, because they have like kind of calls to history, I guess you would say. And so the first one is well known, but I'm really, really interested in these guys.
Oh, the Menahunes?
Yes. What's the local word? How does this get passed to you? Someone that lives there, what are people saying? What's just the kind of the summary on this?
Oh, in Hawaii, if you're a local that's grown up there, there is no question, and it's not even like Menahunes are a legend when you live in Hawaii. They're a fact. Like Menahunes were there. There are still people living today who are descendants of Menahunes. Like our friend Remy, like my good friend Remy. If Gabe is watching this, or if anybody else that I grew up with out there is watching, Gabe can talk about Remy was absolutely a descendant of Menahunes. Like there's no two ways about it. Him and his parents ran a taro farm on Kauai, and they had been for generations and generations. They'd been running this taro farm, and his whole family's very small. Super strong though. Like Remy, probably 5 foot tall at best.
Wow.
And his brother's name was Romeo, and this dude was just jacked. Like we're talking like 4'9", but could bench press easy close to 400 pounds. Like this guy was just a beast, farm worker, But Remy was just one of those guys that you were talking about earlier. From birth, this kid came out with a 6-pack, biceps, shoulders, but he was small. But he could beat all of us at anything we did. He was better at surfing. He was better at football. He was better at climbing. He was better at running. He was faster. He didn't get sick. Like it was just a bunch of things about Remy that were very different than all of us. And it was because it wasn't even like a thing. Whenever he'd do something that was like weird for someone to do, like backflip twice off the hood of a car while he's pounding a beer at a party on the beach, everyone's like, what the hell was that? He's like, oh, he's just doing his Menahune stuff. Like,
wow.
It's just like everyone just knew it. Like it wasn't even
accepted.
Yeah.
And so these are known as like native people, right? That were much smaller. I have heard, and you'd said it, these like fish ponds where like nothing grows. Is that the idea? No vegetation or anything?
Nothing ever fills them in. Nothing ever grows. And a lot of the Menahune fish ponds don't have an actual noticeable watershed, which is interesting. Yeah. They constantly have water in them. They're never dried up, but they just don't go away, even when the rivers that feed them don't really seem to be anymore. And so they've cut these out, and they were fishermen, and they were the first ones in Hawaii to cultivate freshwater or brackish water fish.
Okay. Now, is the concept, like we're talking about a lot of myths and stuff, is the concept that these were actually like real people proven, like whether it was a subspecies or just a different version, like is the thought there that they were real, like 100%?
Yeah. The thought was they were absolutely real. And a lot of them look at them as like, people would say like they're the same as like leprechauns in Ireland.
Okay.
and things like that. But that has sort of died off as very much a, folklore, right?
Right.
Whereas these have gone the opposite direction and just gotten more and more cemented as just like an accepted part of the past.
Yeah.
But there's no skeletal evidence of them.
Wow.
None.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now,
It's a trip.
is today pretty much the remnants of it, just like your story? Like people believe there's descendants and there's the
Mhm.
ponds, and that's kind of where it's at, or is there something more folklore to it to this day?
Oh, there are people there that still think Menahunes are around. Like
Okay.
this, and there's known to, they're kind of like, like things people attribute things to them that you would like fairies or sprites or things like that, right? Like when
Things
little
go
mischievous
missing.
things go missing on your
Yeah.
taro farm. The damn Menahunes got it.
Okay.
But so like people chalk it up to that still today. But yeah, but no, there's bloodlines of people that people definitely believe were
Okay.
started off by Menahune.
Now, the next one I have is a little bit more freaky, and it kind of reminds me of the story you said earlier about the lady in the back seat.
Uh-huh.
And I'll kind of pitch the story here, but just let me know if you've heard of this one. And this one has always fascinated me. Have you heard of the Green Lady? And I don't know how to say the location here.
Wahiawa.
Yeah, have you heard of this one?
Yeah.
So apparently she had gone into the woods in this botanical garden, and she had like lost her kids, right? They
Mm-hmm.
lost her kids, they died. She couldn't handle the grief. She couldn't handle losing her kids. She goes into the forest and no one ever sees her again. And now the story is that she's still there. That
Yep.
whether it's
And anyone that
haunting,
sees her doesn't see anyone else ever again.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is something that is passed around as a story there.
Oh yeah. Why? Yeah. So like, I didn't live anywhere near there, but I had a friend who did. And one time storytelling, she came up. It was actually at a Reiki thing that we did on Kauai. A bunch of these stories started coming up,
Oh,
but the
wow.
Green Lady did come up. And so like the Green Lady, that one falls into the same category as like the Blue Mermaid of the Blue Room, where like if you go swimming and something tugs at your feet, chances are, you'll never be seen again. And people have drowned there and then never come out. They haven't found their bodies.
Oh,
People that drown in the Blue Room have never, like, it's some stupid number. And I don't know what the accurate number is, but like 9 out of 10 people who have died in the Blue Room from drowning have not been found. And it's
wow.
like, it's a lava tube that's collected water, and it's on Kauai. And it used to be able to go up there. And now they block it off quite a bit. I brought Jack and Jill there when we went. But it's like it's one of those weird, yeah, there it is. The algae that makes that water blue, the water is not obviously blue. The blue algae that grows in that hole there, this hole is in the back of a cave that you walk into. And if you see that little lip there in the back, call us nuts, but when we were kids, it'd be 90 degrees outside. And when you hiked up to this Blue Room, that water is always 50 degrees, 60 degrees. It's cold. And so
Oh,
when you're hiking and it's hot, it's great to go put your feet or go hang out in that water. Well, we were not the smartest of kids. And we one time brought a couple of flashlights with us. And if you swim down underneath that back wall, that wall turns into a ceiling. And you can swim along that ceiling, and then you can pop up, and there's little circle rooms that you can tread water in with your head above water
oh
and
no.
breathe. But it's like inside that wall.
Yeah. Oh
And so we
no.
used to bring rope with us to find our way back out. And but that was it. Like we had rope and a flashlight, like no air tanks, no nothing. And we used to go in there. But what's crazy about this room is National Geographic has gone in there with sonar and miles of cable, and they haven't found the bottom of it ever.
Whoa.
They thought they found it once in the 90s, and then their sonar equipment was sitting there pinging, and all of a sudden something happened where it slid and then fell and kept going, and they ran out of cable again. And they couldn't find the bottom.
Oh my gosh.
They think
That's
it's just a
crazy.
lava tube that goes like damn near to the center of the earth. It just goes forever.
That's freaky.
But
That's
but
freaky.
supposedly the legend of this place is there's the Blue Mermaid. And the reason it's the Blue Mermaid, well, the algae that grows in that hole doesn't grow anywhere else in Hawaii. Nowhere. Like there's nowhere else in Hawaii that grows blue algae.
Interesting.
It's not native there at all, only to this cave.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
And Jill says that cave is the background of her phone.
It is. Yeah, she got up really close to it and took a really cool photo, and it's the background of her phone. Yeah, it's super cool.
Wow. So yeah, it sounds very similar to the Lady in the Green because it's in this botanical garden that if
Yeah.
you go in, people don't come back or something tragic happens to their life or to a family member, and they describe it as a ghostly woman in green appearance.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny that there is such a thing with like women, colors, and these certain areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a thing. There's one more that I'll hit. I know it's 2 o'clock, but
Yeah,
people
hit
might
it.
want to actually read on this one a little bit because it is crazy. Read about the tunnel of trees and pork. So Pele, I guess, had a tumultuous relationship with the god of pigs, and she banished him to one side of the island, and he wasn't allowed to come back to the other side of the island. So still to this day, people that, for example, live on the other side of this tunnel of trees on Kauai, which is like near Poipu, they won't. You aren't supposed to drive through that tunnel of trees with pork in your car. Um,
Oh,
and if you do, bad things can happen. Same, there's another highway on Oahu where you can't drive with pork, and there's the tunnel of trees. It's a gorgeous road,
right.
and you drive down it, and it's like it's such a cool path. Like I brought Jack and Jill down this road as well just to check it out. And I even looked in the back seat to Jack jokingly. I'm like, "You don't have any pork from that restaurant from lunch, do you?" But it's supposedly you're not allowed to bring pork through the tunnel of trees.
Interesting. Yeah, and they have all sorts of pictures of people like parking and taking pictures of it and stuff.
Mhm.
That's freaky. And that's one of those stories that you say you don't even mess with. You just nope, I'm not taking pork.
Yeah, maybe you're just not going to test that one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need to mess around and find out on that.
No, I don't either. Like any story that involves like a do this and this will happen with Pele's name involved, I'm like, I don't care if I believe in it or not. I'm just gonna actually just not find out for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't need to go test those. Yeah, that's
Nope,
okay with
sure
me.
don't.
Man, I love this stuff so much. Tynema, I agree. He says, and nice new picture, man. He says these stories need to be on episodes of Unsolved Mysteries. Straight up.
Dude, they do. Like for real. Like you could literally gather like some investigative reporter, a cryptozoologist, and me and like 5 of my friends from Kauai, and just have them go investigate the weird crap that happened to us that we never figured out.
Now, final side note here, just on that. I don't know if we were working together when this happened or not. Did I tell you about my Netflix show interview
No,
or audition, I guess you could say? So I got
no.
contacted by Netflix probably 2 years ago. I know some of you will remember it. And they approached me and said, "Hey, we have a show, and not to be weird, but I've been watching your channel for years, and I think you would be the very perfect person for this." It was a show that was based on finding aliens on farms in the United States, right? Crop circles, weird things
Hmm.
happening to cattle and stuff. And the premise of the show was it was going to be one side was going to be like the alien people that believe in this, that are researching this. And then the other side was going to be like the ranchers and the farmers. And so you would have, and then also like mixed in skeptics on both sides. So like
Sure.
scientists, real scientists, skeptics, farmers that believe in it, that don't believe in it. I was going to be the host and the mediator between them. And
Oh,
so they
dude,
had
how cool was that?
it was crazy. So they had me audition, and I made it to the second round of auditions, and it was like going unbelievably well. And they're asking me all these things. I've never auditioned for a show or anything. And then I got pretty much offered, and they're like, "You're going to be doing this, but you're going to live in like Kansas for 6 weeks. You're going to go to this place and this place." And they're like, you have weekends, you film Monday through Friday, but you can get your family down here on the weekends. And so we're like going through this big moment of like, do we do this? Is this new path for us and all this
Yeah.
stuff? And then they canned the show, and it didn't happen. But
Oh,
I do have some like pictures and video from the auditions and different stuff. It was really crazy. And it was
dude.
like aliens, farmers, and cowboys was like the name of the show for Netflix.
Dude, how crazy would that have been? That's a
Nuts.
nut. That would have been a nuts experience.
Yeah, the only rule I gave them was that I had to be able to use the name Dancy Bearded. I said, I can't use a fake name. I can't use my government name. I said, I will do this if I can use Dancy Bearded. And they were like, that's fine. They're like, they go, that's really ironic that your last name's Bearded. And I'm like, yep, you keep thinking that.
Sure
Yeah.
is.
Yep. Just don't make the checks. Put an LLC after it on the checks, and we're good.
That's right. DBA,
Yeah.
Dancy Bearded.
So that's kind of like that. I could see that show in Hawaii where you have locals, you have skeptics, you have like crypto. What's the word?
Cryptozoologists.
Cryptozoologists. Like that's a banger of a show right there.
Dude, Netflix. Listen, if you're listening here, you have your two hosts for a Hawaii focused folklore show here. We got good cop, we got bad cop. I can play the guy who believes it. Dan can play the skeptic. We'll both take both sides of it. It's going to be fantastic.
But unfortunately, we would have to move our families out to Hawaii for a couple months of shooting, and we'd have to like stay like near each other. And I don't.
Yeah, we would need private tutors. We'd clearly need some plot of land that had a couple of houses on it, both complete with really nice lanais and maybe like a centralized fire pit kind of a situation.
Now, I don't know if Jill and Sam would be okay with that, but we might be able to convince them.
Yeah, we're good at selling stuff, dude. We could probably talk them into that.
Right, especially when the stuff is genuine and amazing like Hawaii is. I think we could do it.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, with a good enough expense account, you just rub money on all those problems and they can just go away.
So true. Especially in Netflix pockets. And
yeah,
Plo says, look forward to the Dancy Bearded documentary on Netflix. That'd be a wild one. Nick would have a wild documentary too.
Dude, I'm telling you, we got like 6 seasons right out of the gate between the two of us.
Yeah. Yep. Can we make this a community trip? Yeah, we need like the supporting actors. We need extras. Yeah.
You need your crew. Like we got to feel comfortable, right? We can't feel out of our element, or we're not going to be good on camera.
Field trip.
Yeah, we're not going to have this kind of chemistry with new people.
Right. There's no way. Yeah.
No.
When you guys pick up what we're putting down, that makes a special show.
That's it.
All right. We may have to come back to that one another time because I feel like Nick has more stories. I feel like you guys enjoyed that. And I know I enjoyed it. So I want to do that again. That would be really, really fun. But next week, you guys, we have our friend Saad, aka Semper Fortis, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who's going to be on. And I hope that you guys are, I hope that you guys are going to be here. Oh my gosh.
Darian's comments killing me right now.
Yeah. Dan could be like Steve Irwin, but rubbing mythical things down with beard oil when he catches them. You feel undernourished? This is good for you.
That's right. You're going to smell like hops and citrus when I'm done with you, little lizard.
Yeah, right. You are going to be doing okay. Fascinating fun. That's a huge compliment. I like how that sounds too. Fascinating fun.
Fascinating fun. Coming from Leo, I'll take it, man. If we've engaged you and kept you interested and taught you or showed you something that you might not have heard before, since you're someone who consumes so much info, I'll take that as a huge compliment.
Heck yeah. All right, guys. From me, thank you for watching and hanging out today. This was awesome. It like whatever is going on before the day, whatever's going on after the day, this was just like a little pocket of like amazingness.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. And thank you for the stories, Nick. And Nick, send them home, man, with a beautiful send off.
This was awesome. And you know what? This literally felt like sitting around my fire pit out back behind my house with a bunch of friends, and someone asked a leading question about stories from Hawaii when I grew up or something. I love talking about this stuff. It's fun. Not something you get to talk about with every audience that you hang out with. So thanks for sticking around and listening, guys. This was awesome. I loved it. This was super fun. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to next week, especially because like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is something that I actually have a lot of questions about. I want to learn more about it, and I kind of want to get into it. I'm a little worried about my hands. So I want to ask about like no gi grabbing Jiu-Jitsu and figure out how I get into that. So I'm going to learn some stuff next week. Hopefully you guys learn some stuff next week. And if we don't, we're at least going to meet someone who can definitely kick all of our asses at once. So it's going to be fun.
Yep.
So with that, see you next week.